What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here. Spurs have lost 2-1 to Aston Villa here at Villa Park in what was a very important game for our Europa League chances. Goals from Jacob Ramsey and a late free kick from Diaz gave Diaz? No, what's his name? Diaz.
No, Douglas Luiz.
Douglas Luiz, sorry, Luiz. Gave Villa a 2-0 lead with Harry Kane scoring a late consolation penalty where it looked like maybe we might get back in the game, but it was too little too late. I'm here with Forms to talk about this game. I mean, it's a really disappointing result, and I think at the end of the day we kind of have very few complaints with the result, can we, with that performance?
Just tactically outdone. It was a Unai Emery masterclass. They played the offside trap and it just went purely to plan for them, and there was nothing we could do. We couldn't break them down. We were forced into playing long balls. We spent the majority of the game offside, and the only way we could score was through a Harry Kane penalty.
Yeah, essentially there was like a 5-minute period as soon as Basuma came on. We had a couple of moments. Kane had a chance, Kulusevski had a chance. That was at 1-0, and that was probably the moment to strike while the iron was hot.
Yeah.
That was maybe the moment to score, and we couldn't get those chances converted. Villa then makes some subs. They do score that late free kick, which I have to say Fraser Forster really has to be saving. Very, very disappointing. Gets a big hand to it, and that's probably one of the most disappointing moments from him, considering he's been pretty solid since he's come in, but he's got to be saying that, hasn't he?
100%. I mean, he is massive. He is massive. There is no excuse. I think his vision was probably clear, and he's got to do better. And it's just so frustrating because it was, again, we conceded the first goal in the first 10 minutes of an away game, and it's like, when are we going to get to grips of going to an away ground and just getting into a game? Like, why is it every single time we have to concede to then go, oh, okay, we're playing a game of football here? It's the Premier League. I don't get it.
I mean, third away game in a row we've conceded inside 10 minutes, which is ridiculous. Jacob Ramsey obviously giving Villa the lead in the first half, and let's be honest, that whole first half, as much as we were out tactic and stuff, and we had a late rally, we pretty much wasted that whole first half. We didn't have one shot at all, not even on target or off target, not one shot. The only chances we all did have were all offside. We spent pretty much the whole first half and majority of the second half offside as well. I mean, that first half was probably what cost us the game in the end, because that second half, it was pretty even, you would have to say. We had some chances, they had some chances, and it could have gone either way. But first half was where the game was lost, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. But then again, I think that's more credit to Emery and Villa than it was to us, because there's only so much we can do when they are so tactically on point. And we've seen it time and time again throughout this season. When we're overrunning midfield, we just struggle so much to break down defences, and that was the first half of proving that point.
Yeah, and there was another situation again where Spurs in possession really did have very little ideas, especially in the first half. Like, all we had was to play the ball over the top and try and find Kane, Richarlison or Son on the run, and it was really difficult to do. In fact, it was so difficult when we didn't manage to do it at all.
And 9 times out of 10 it was Kane that was playing those long balls in, or trying to play those balls in. So, I mean, you said it during the game, if Harry Kane could pass the ball to Harry Kane, perfect. We'd probably be top of the league.
Exactly, it would be all right. Probably no issues. I guess of the very few positives to take out of this game, the performance was bad, but I thought Basuma looked bright in his cameo. He did come on for about half an hour and definitely took some responsibility on the ball, was asking for the ball a lot. He was playing some really nice passes into the front line, was trying to create things. So that was a positive. It was nice to see him back after so long.
Definitely. I think it's always nice when you see subs come on when the energy is low and just pump energy into the team. That's exactly what Kulusevski did as well. But yeah, it was nice to see Basuma back and being given that freedom to kind of do what he does best. Take the ball, find a player, give him the ball, run.
Exactly, and it was if he seems to be a player who's been lacking a lot of confidence this season, which clearly when a player like Basuma is high on confidence, he's an extremely exciting player on the ball, even in a central midfield position, and that's something that we've lacked a lot. And he definitely brought, I felt, some quality, and maybe I'd like to see him start over the next 2 games potentially from now to the end of the season. Kulusevski had a bright cameo as well. Probably did more than Richarlison did in his time on the pitch. Did well to take people on, and should have got that shot on target target, which he had late on, although his effectiveness did seem to dwindle later on in the game. But when he first came on, he was a bundle of energy, wasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. I think that, yes, Richarlison scored against Liverpool. And he's got his starts as a result of that, but I think that it's time for Kulusevski to slot back in. Or actually, give Dan Juma the chance, but we know realistically that's not going to happen. So Kulu has got to come back in over Richarlison just because he gives something that is different. And plus, when Kulusevski's on the ball, you're not A, worried that he's going to be offside, and B, he can take a man on and isn't afraid to either ping a ball in or shoot on target at least.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. In terms of like the overall picture with Ryan Mason, there's been a lot of talk about him potentially getting the permanent job and him talking himself up. Obviously, off the back of some decent displays we've had under him against Man United, against Liverpool, and against Palace, put in some good performances. Would you say this was maybe the worst performance we've had during his short tenure?
Yeah, this stint 100%. But that is because you've got a manager like Emery who is set in his ways. He's got his own philosophy. He's had years of experience at high levels, whether it be Premier League, Champions League, La Liga, wherever. And you've got Mason, who has had 2 really short cameos for a club that is in dire trouble both times, and it's not been enough time. It's not been the right situation for him to go, okay, let me sit down and go, this is my footballing philosophy. I've got enough time to implement it with the squad that I've got. So it was a battle of tacticians, and in this case the tactician beat the lack of experience.
And I think that's pretty spot on. I think it was very much a tactical battle, which Unai Emery had a plan for us, especially when it came to making sure that our midfield players weren't getting the ball at all. Skip and Højbjerg saw very little of the ball during the game, stifling Harry Kane, especially when he was in the forward line in that position. When he was coming deep and kind of picking up the ball, he's hard to track, but even then he was pretty well stifled. Kane saw very little of the ball in the final third. The high line, I thought they were playing, catching us offside every single time. It was the perfect tactical switch, and I think Unai Emery definitely won the tactical battle ahead of Ryan Mason. But I agree, it's harsh to criticise him because he's the only experience, hasn't had the time. But do you think maybe it puts a dampener on some of the, I would say, like tepid calls for him to be permanent manager? Do you think this kind of pours cold water on that potentially with that kind of performance and result?
Yeah, I mean, tepid's definitely the right word. It's look, like I said before, he speaks so highly of the club. He's Tottenham till he dies, and I absolutely love the passion. However, he's just not what we need. We're not new to the Prem, ready to take a chance on a manager who's got fire in his belly. We are in a situation that no club wants to be in. We need to be yanked out of it, not even taken out of it. And so we need someone who has got some kind of experience under their belt to come in and do exactly that.
100%, I agree with you. In terms of where this result leaves us in the table, we're still 6th, but we're now level on points with Aston Villa. Aston Villa's last 2 games of the season play Brighton and they play Liverpool. So not easy games for them. We play Brentford and Leeds. So in terms of that Conference League position, I mean, we're still in a fairly decent position if we want to finish against Aston Villa. I know it's not much to shout about. If we would have won today, that would have passed 6 points clear of Villa and they would have been out of it. So definitely Villa are back in the equation, albeit they probably need to get at least 4 points, you'd have to say, in those next 2 games. Will they do it?
It's unlikely.
It's very unlikely they will. Brighton as well. We're now 2 points ahead of Brighton and they have 3 games in hand, albeit they still have to play the likes of Arsenal, Newcastle, Man City and Brighton and Aston Villa as well. So they have some really difficult games to come, so nothing can be taken for granted on their point of view. So I guess what I would say is Conference League is still a good chance we're going to get it, even though we've lost today and we're level on points with Villa. Europa League, obviously, it really hurt our chances of getting that today, but I still think we have an outside chance given Brian's tough fixtures. But how do you see it? Do you still see it? Do you think our chances of top 6 died today, or do you still think there's an outside chance?
I think we have the most favourable fixtures out of the rest of the teams competing. So, yes, we've got that in our favour, but at the same time, we're Tottenham Hotspur.
No, exactly. So, can you trust us to win? We need to win 2 out of 2, basically.
Yeah, without question. If we so much as drop a point in the next game, that's it.
We're done.
It's done. I'd even go as far as to say if we drop a point at all in the next 2 games, then we might as well kiss Conference League goodbye as well. Because yes, Brighton have got difficult fixtures, but Brighton are also a very good team that know how to hold themselves. Having said that, they did just get battered by Everton. So it's like it's the business end of the Premier League where literally
weird results happen at this stage. You just saw earlier Leeds 2-2 against Newcastle.
Yep.
Weird results do happen at this time. So that can work in our favour and against us, because in a way you don't rule out Brighton beating an Arsenal. That can happen because they're that good. But then as well, if they do what's expected and they drop points in those games, it does leave us with a small window where maybe we can snatch out that top 6 spot even with the defeat today. So I don't think it's all over, but I do think we're literally clinging on right now by the skin of our teeth, essentially.
Without question. I just hope, and I really sincerely hope that at some point something kicks in, and if whatever competition we're in next year, we just take seriously. Yes, the last time we were in the Conference League, it didn't go our way. COVID happened. Well, it doesn't happen, but happened. I think we can't take something like that for granted. And even if it means playing players who would be considered B-team players who come in and have so much to give, rather than playing players who might be a bigger name player and a little bit more complacent. But then again, we've got to make the competition first.
Exactly. There's still no guarantee we get European football now. It actually, in a weird way, as much as we still have a decent chance of getting European football, this loss today for sure increases that chance we don't get any European football now. So the chance that we do finish out 8th outside with Villa and Brighton both beat us to it, it's not completely beyond the realms of possibility that can happen now with today's results. So Villa, for sure, that result would definitely they needed a bit of a pickup because they'd only won 1 of the last 4. The form started to slip, so that was a big result for them. That's really putting them back in the picture now for a European spot. But for Tottenham, I guess it's still up in the air. I guess we have to win the next 2 games. That's it. And if we win the next 2 games, it gives us an outside chance. If we win the next 2, we go on 63 points, right? I do think that'll be enough to finish above Villa. Whether that's enough to finish above Brighton, they'll need 8 points then out of the next 5 games.
Yeah.
And the 5 games they have are, where are they? They are Arsenal, Newcastle, Southampton, Man City and Villa. Are they getting 8 points there?
And 3 of those 5 are away.
Yeah, are they getting 8 points there? It's difficult. They could, but it's difficult. It's unlikely that they'll get 8 points. So I guess it's still open for us. It's a bad defeat, a bad performance. We're going to have to play better than this if we're going to get that Europa League spot. We're going to have to beat Brentford, and Leeds are very much probably going to be fine for something like last day. So winning on the last day at Leeds ain't going to be a foregone conclusion. No. But it's not all over. Who's your man of the match today for you from a Tottenham point of view? It's a tough, big one, isn't it?
It's so tough.
No one really had an outstanding game.
Not really. I mean, there's a cool, other than that first reckless challenge, Romero put in some decent challenges, and other than the free kick, Forster had a decent game. But I can't
Kane maybe
match.
Kane did score and maybe had a few through balls which are offside.
I guess Kane of every player on the pitch was doing the most in terms of dropping deep and getting forward and doing everything that is required of an all-round player like Kane. So I guess cool, yeah, I'll give it to Kane.
I guess I'd agree with that. I mean, I can't really think of a player who really played outstanding, to be honest. I thought everyone was pretty below par during the game, and I think Villa, I don't even think Villa were brilliant, but I think they out-tacted us, and that's what they had to do. They were as good as they needed to be to beat us, and that was reality. But look, that was the watch long for Tottenham against Aston Villa. We'll tune in very soon for the post-match fan show, which we'll be bringing you very, very soon. It's your chance to have your say on today's game and whether you think we're going to get Europa League. But Forms, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me,
me on the watch long. Much appreciated. Appreciate your time. Thank you for all the viewers for tuning in and watching the watch long with us. Thank you for all the super chats, all your likes. Appreciate all the support for the channel. Really, really does help. So big up to everyone out there for tuning in. But we'll see you very soon on the post-match fan show. Like, subscribe, and comment below. And as always, come on, you Spurs!